Best in Show Books. We are a booktube channel by Naughty Dog Books. We're here in Nashville, Indiana. We're an independent bookstore. I'm Gina.
And I'm Shelby.
And today we have a very, very special guest with us. It's Kristy Cambron. She is a historical fiction writer, and she has agreed to be put through the ringer of our interview. So,
with our hard-hitting questions.
Yes, hard journalists here, you know us. So we are going to get started with Kristy, and we have a little fun to start this, if you don't mind.
Okay. Before we get into the meat of it, and you really start to sweat.
All right, I won't be nervous.
Yeah. We're going to do some lightning round fun questions. Okay, starting us off. Coffee or tea?
Yes. I'm sorry, this is a French interview. Oui.
There you go. Eggs on theme, and you'll find out why. Hardback or paperback?
Both. I will say that I've been listening to more audiobooks lately.
That's my next question.
Yes.
Ebook or audiobook?
Yeah, definitely audiobook. I spend a lot of time yoga, walking, running, hiking, strength training, really active lifestyle. And so I found that audiobooks is just better for that.
Yeah.
I took us out of the lightning. Let's get back to it.
No, that's good. That's good. You can expound.
Okay, this is a little slower lightning, but equally as important. Last book you rated 5 stars?
The Women by Kristen Hanna. It's my last 5-star read. Yeah, it's still with me.
Yeah.
It is. It sticks with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Favorite historical era to read about, write about, learn about?
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to go with my brand and say World War II because truly it's the soundtrack of my youth. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was a B-17 co-pilot in World War II, and so I remember the stories. I remember it being just such a big part of our life. And then having spent so much time researching it, I think World War II. So probably that 20th century, 40s to 50s-ish. Mm-hmm.
Historical figure you'd love to have lunch with?
Okay. I'm going to say, I know, there's so many. I'm going to say Jane Austen. And so I have this fun thing that one of my friends did years ago. We went into Starbucks and they asked the name. The barista asked her name. And she said something like, Her Majesty the Queen.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. And I looked at the barista and I said, can we be anyone we want? He was like, yes. So I think I was like Scout Finch, or it was always something literary. Cute. And so I have landed on Jane Austen. So really everywhere I go and I order coffee, I am Jane Austen. So I'm kind of living her life. In fact, the coffee shop that I go to and I write my books, they don't even know my real name. They just call me Jane Austen. Yeah, they know that I'm always on a laptop, but they don't know that I'm an author, what I do. They just call me Jane Austen. And so, so I would love to see like what she thinks about that. Now that every time I go to Starbucks, Jane, like, use your name.
Yeah.
So probably Jane would have the same coffee as Jane.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
What is your coffee?
Oh, wow. Now it's sugar-free. I mean, all the joy is gone from life. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be like a latte.
All right. So that was a little quick mini lightning round. So let's get into actually some more about you.
Okay.
So for the readers and for the viewers who are unfamiliar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you write?
Yeah, well, The French Kitchen is my 11th novel. So I write historical fiction, and it always incorporates some sort of, yes, this is the book. This is the book. It always incorporates some sort of art history. So I'll go back a little bit of ways. When I was a young child, my mom would take my sister and I to the library every week in the summer. And my sister to this day, she is the most voracious reader that I have ever met. She gives the best book recommendations. I have never not liked something that she's told me to read. And so she went to the fiction section. When I was young, I went the other way. I went to the art section. And 7, 8, 9 years old, I would sit on the floor in the library, be like crisscross applesauce, and I would sit there with the books, and I would thumb through Disney animation books and art history books.
Oh, neat.
And so just loved visual storytelling and stories. And but we joke about it in our family, and I talk about this all the time, that I have these hands right here that can't paint, can't draw, can't sculpt, like can't do any of the things that you would have to do to be an artist, but I knew I loved art. So by the time I got to my first semester at IU Bloomington, I walked in, and this is hilarious. I walk in the first class, and you should never do this, but I think it was like a really hard, like 300 or 400 level class. And I remember walking in, and the professor was up at the top, top of the room, and she was talking with a student. I remember thinking like, I want that, like, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. I almost felt like this whisper on my heart, like this is where I'm supposed to be. So art history for me was just this love of research and stories and visual storytelling. And then from there, I had no idea, but now we talk about this in our family. Now I get to paint with words.
Exactly.
And so it's still being an artist. It's just a little bit of a different way.
And I see that in the stories.
Yeah.
I visually see your backgrounds, excuse me, the way you write. I can smell the apples in the orchard.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
awesome.
very visual.
Yeah, very visual.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So how did you go from art history to author?
Yeah.
What was that? That
Swing.
yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing that we're here because that's a whole story. I mean, I was working in corporate America, like 80 hours a week.
Oh wow.
We had 3 sons at the time, and so I had just finished college, and I just had it on my heart to write creatively. I was a traveling trainer, and so everything that I did, that was where I learned the technical art of writing, but it was designing curriculum and doing training classes, and I had this whole other side, like what we see here, books and stories, and I wanted to be a part of that, but I knew nothing. I mean, for anyone who's watching who's an aspiring author, and I hope you're watching, I knew nothing about publishing. I knew no one in the industry. I knew nothing. I just knew that I loved creativity. And so working as much as I was, I ended up actually going to a writer's conference, my first writer's conference. I pitched my work to 6 agents and editors. We had 2 agents about a month later offered to represent me. We had no idea. And I say we all the time because it's my husband and sons, like my whole family was behind me.
That's great.
So dream defenders, like keep them close. It's really important. But after that, we didn't know anything. Okay, now I have an agent. What does this mean? And we lovingly call this a 2-year period the crash and burn years. Because every time we would send something out, it would come back and we would get a rejection. And then the rejection started to get better, though. So you knew like, oh, okay, they said, we really like your writing. It just doesn't fit for what we're looking for right now. Or we already have an author on the roster who writes what you do. And so for us, it was like, okay, just a thimbleful of confidence to pick it back up and keep going. And so after those 2 years, it was really funny because I would enter a lot of unpublished writing contests, crash and burn, right? And so I expected to do that again. And then after that 2-year period, I was working and getting ready to go on maternity leave. So that was our 3rd son. And I remember this is a story that I love to tell because it's just so hilarious how it works out. But I called HR and I was like, am I allowed to write when I'm on maternity leave? And they were like, well, are you making any money at it? And I was like, after I stopped laughing and picked myself up off the floor, because I was like, I am in the hole like a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not making any money at this point. And they said, okay, it's a hobby. You can do whatever hobby you want. And I was like, great. So I told my agent at the time, I'm going to take, this sounds crazy. Please don't do this, friends. I told my agent, I'm going to take 3 days off and then I'm going to start writing. And so that was how my debut novel was born. Around the time my son was born, middle of the night, I would hook him to my arm and hold the bottle like this and I would type chapters on my phone. So I wrote my debut novel on my iPhone in the middle of the night on maternity leave.
Oh my gosh.
At that point, then I submitted for another contest and just figured, another crash and burn, it's not going to do anything. So I forgot about it and then found out that I won the contest. And the editor that was the judge is my editor at HarperCollins, and we're working on novel number 12 together.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
so that was the story.
That's so awesome.
That was the story. Yeah. So I really encourage people, if they want to write, they want to become an author, invest in anything that you can that will help you to learn the business and help you to get there, whether that is a writing conference, whether that is joining like the Authors Guild, or whether that's trying unpublished writing contests. Make sure they're legitimate, but that was just what worked for us. So it's a funny story to say I came out of the unpublished writing contest.
Yeah. So how many iterations like of your first book or however, that came about?
Yeah.
How many did it take you to get to like the one?
Yeah. So I think I'm an overachiever in this area. They say, or the old saying is you have 3 completed manuscripts before you get your first contract. That was manuscript number 9.
Wow.
So, and I have some on floppy disks. No one can be bribed.
Floppy disks.
The only one who, do y'all know what floppy disks are? Google that. My mom is the only one who has read those early manuscripts and she cannot be bribed. So, they were bad. But that was part of the process. They were developmental. I had to learn how to write. I had to learn the craft of writing. And more than that, it was spending time in bookshops. It was spending time reading. That's the one thing that I will always tell aspiring authors is read, read, read. It's the best way to learn how to share your own stories with readers.
I'm sorry. Was there any form of that first manuscript? Was there any story, any nugget that made it all the way to the 9th? Published one, the debut?
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually 9 different manuscripts.
Okay. So
I see.
9 different stories.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it was 9 completely different manuscripts, and the last one was my debut novel. But that was the only book where I have one chapter where we didn't edit anything, except for maybe like the line edits. But there was a chapter in that book. It was on the Women's Art of Auschwitz and the Women's Orchestra of Auschwitz. And so that came out of my years of art history.
Yeah.
The violin and the butterfly?
Yes, the butterfly and the violin.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I had it
absolutely.
backwards.
No, you're good. You're good. The butterfly and the violin. violin, absolutely. And there is a chapter in there. It is the chapter where the main character actually arrives at Auschwitz. That is the only chapter in any book that I've ever written that we did not change anything.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
And I wrote that one on my phone, so I'm like, maybe I should try that again.
Yeah, nighttime chapters.
Yeah, it seemed to work.
So back to your advice about reading.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we are all voracious readers here. Who are some of your favorite authors that you look to for inspiration, for stories, but also just for like storytelling and the craft in general?
Yeah, I know everyone's going to see this. So if you don't hear your name, I love you all. Like, I read all of your books and I love you all. These are just the ones that come to mind.
Yeah.
So people are asking me right now, what are you reading right now? And for me, the world feels pretty heavy.
Yes.
So I'm just going to own this. I've been telling everyone exactly what I'm reading, and it's Christmas rom-coms. And we are filming this in August. And unashamed. I mean, I think I've gone through like 5 or 6 in the last month. And I finished one last night, and I'm starting a new one today.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that for me, like I love Jenny Bayless. I love Courtney Walsh. I'm listening to a lot of Sarah Morgan and Catherine Walsh. Those are some romance and some rom-com authors. Also like Becky Wade a lot for romance. For historical fiction, love Catherine Ray, Sarah Ladd. They are my besties, but they are also fabulous writers. Kristen Harmel, Madeline Martin. We could just go on and on. Patty C. Henry. Yeah, I'm trying to. Kate Quinn, Kristen Hanna, already mentioned her.
Yeah.
You know, love all of that. So yeah, I pretty much hang out in historical fiction and romance and rom-com. That's where I like to spend my time.
Well, you know, Hallmark Channel does the Christmas in July movies, so you might as well do the Christmas
you're
in
not
July
alone.
books.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it just feels like where the shop is cozy. You know, like a cozy, a great town vibe. You've always got wonderful secondary cast. You know, and it's an HEA. You know, there's going to be a happily ever after. You know exactly where the story is going, and so I don't have to stress over that at all.
Sometimes
and
you
maybe
just need that.
yeah, maybe it's a little form of control in a world that feels like there's so much we can't control right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I can control the HEA when I'm reading a Christmas rom-com. So.
Very much so. And I think also not even just the happily ever after, but the content, you know?
Right.
And I think that also speaks to your novels, you know, they are, and this is something our viewers are very interested in, they're clean, you know? And that is harder and harder to find in literature these days. So that is something that we very much appreciate here, you know, just having a refreshing, you don't have to read it kind of being like, oh, you know, what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's funny about that too, if my editor is watching this, she has to push a little bit to get me to even write a kissing scene. I just blush and I'm like, I just can't do it. I'm here for the history. I'm here for the story. I'm here for the characters. And I have had editors before tell me like, oh, well, Kristy, you know, it's a romance. You got to put a kiss in there. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll put a one-line kiss. That kind of thing. And then let's get back to the history part because that's what I really like.
Well, I'm glad you said that because there's a scene in here that I thought was perfectly well done that was a romance scene between Gerard and Kat. I thought it was perfect.
Yes.
I loved it.
I hope it is the same scene that I am thinking of, and I actually pushed the envelope a little bit, you know, with this couple and was like, okay, maybe I can write something romantic, you know?
Yeah,
so
you did it well.
Yeah, so I was pretty intentional about that one. Yeah.
So in regards to the French Kitchen, can you give us your elevator pitch, you know, your literary pitch for the French Kitchen?
Yeah, so it's French cuisine. It's Paris in the 1950s, and it's Julia Child before the world knew her as Julia Child. And I was very specific about that. I didn't want this to be a biography. I wanted this to be really something that the readers will walk away from. This is about the stories that we are each living, the people who step in and out of our lives. And for me, Julia Child, I wanted her to be that. I wanted her to be a friend. I wanted her to be a mentor. I wanted her to be a coach in a way that we know her as the French chef, or we know her as the cookbook author, the icon, but I wanted her to be real a little. I wanted her to be personalized in the relationships with these characters, and that's what I hoped readers would walk away. So that's, if we were in an elevator, I would have just pushed the stop button ding, and just held it a little bit to explain a little bit more about the book.
So with this book, there's a dual timeline. What made you choose the timelines that you did?
Yeah, most of my books are dual timelines.
I love a dual timeline.
Yeah, and that's really the way that I understand story. My mind understands story. So my favorite TV show of all time is Lost. And so you probably get it. You probably get and for Lost fans, it wasn't about the mystery of the island. Yes, that was there. It wasn't about what had happened on the island. It wasn't even about the season 6 answers that we didn't get, right? We did not get the answer. It was always about the characters. And so for me, I always talk about how I don't live spoiler free. I want the spoiler of every book, every TV show, every
wow.
movie. Just don't put it on Goodreads. Just don't put it out there
Yeah.
for don't spoil it for everyone else. But I always want to know where something is going so that I can then step back and look at the characters. The tiny ticks of their character, their motivation, why they're doing what they're doing, why they're saying what they're saying. So to give the reader a look back in Kat's character, for example, her time during World War II, that really informs the decisions that she's making, the conversations that she's having, the relationships that she has in her present day, which is 1952 Paris, where she meets Julia Child. So I always want to give the reader that extra information so that they can focus in on those characters.
So you said that you're a history buff.
Yes.
As am I, as are you.
Yes.
So did you do any like boots on the ground work? Did you go to Paris?
Not for this novel.
Not for this
No,
one? Have you been before?
No, I have not.
You
I have
haven't
not.
been?
I know. I have not.
Wow.
Well,
I'm
we actually,
shocked.
I know we were actually going to do a tour, an author tour of Rome for my book, The Italian Ballerina, and for Paris for the book, The Paris Dressmaker. But then COVID hit and it got pushed back. And so that was like a 3-year process. And finally, we weren't able to do that just because of COVID. So there were plans to go to Paris. Now, for my series, The Lost Castle, the first book is set in France. The second book is set in Ireland. And the third book is set in England. My husband and I had an opportunity to do some research and we were like, what do we do? Do we go to Paris? Do we go to Ireland? And we chose Ireland because I knew so much less about Ireland. I really felt like to understand that story, I needed to, as you said, get boots on the ground. So I haven't been to Paris. I know. I just, je t'aime, je t'aime.
Yeah, well, you should take it as like a high compliment because did you not think she had been?
I did.
Yeah,
I really
and
did.
Okay, I'll take that.
I went to Paris and I was like, oh, she's been to Paris.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, interjecting, where did you go in Ireland?
Oh, wow. We had a 9-day research road trip. My husband and I and our 2 older sons, and we just rented a car, and bless him, he was on the wrong side of the car and the wrong side of the road, and I had the outdated map, like turning it like this, like, what are we doing? And we just knew where we were going to lay our head on the pillow at night, so we spent some time in Dublin. We went to Cork City, we went to Blarney, and then we went out. I know, it's just amazing. And then we went out to the western coast, and we toured the Ring of Kerry. We did all of that, and we stayed in the Killarney National Forest area. We hiked in Killarney National Forest.
Beautiful.
We're outdoorsy, hikey kind of people,
Right.
especially after hiking in Ireland. I mean, like
Yeah.
you get the bug, and then all of a sudden you're out in the woods all the time.
Did you kiss the Blarney Stone?
I did not, and I have a funny story about that.
on,
I have a funny story about that. So a little bit of a germaphobe. I'm not going to lie.
yeah.
This was before COVID. We were actually there for the 100-year celebration year of the Easter Rising, and I wrote the book on
So
the Easter
2016.
Rising. Yes, we were there in 2016, and we went up to Blarney Castle. And I remember I was up there, and there were the gentlemen up there that they kind of guide you in kissing the Blarney Stone. And I just kind of asked this guy while we were waiting for our turn, how many people would you say came through here today? And he goes, oh, about 500. And I went, 500 people have kissed the Blarney Stone? No, my husband's like, we're not doing it. So we filmed someone else who kissed the Blarney Stone. But then I kind of thought, I really feel like I already have the gift of gabs. People have to shut me up most of the time. And I'm like, maybe that would have been extra.
It would have been too much.
It would have been just too much gab. And so I was like, I will let other people have that. And they don't, Clorox wipe the Blarney Stone between each kiss. And so I was like, I'm not okay with that. So moving on.
We went, my husband and I went earlier this year, and it was harrowing.
Yeah.
You were up there, you saw it, you go, and they dangle you off like a precipice.
Like
And
60 feet, right? You're like 60 feet up.
So high. And the guy, for propriety's sake, he doesn't really hold on to you.
Right.
He just kind of like taps your hip bones. And then you have to like
Yes.
farther back down.
And there's a bar. There's a bar.
Yes.
You have to like pull the bar. You have to pull yourself up to kiss the stone, and you are fully laying down. And there is an open space, and it's like 60 feet straight down. So you are really brave. You're like so brave.
The pictures are so unflattering. And then you leave and they're like, do you want to buy it? And I was like, no, I don't.
I have the memory. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. So that needs to be in another book. Someone needs to go to Ireland. Kiss the Blarney Stone.
Yeah, kiss the Blarney Stone.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun to have like a rom-com that had some kind of magical realism element that they kiss the Blarney Stone and all of a sudden they have the gift of gab, and it's just
that would be adorable.
It's just extra. Like this character's really extra, like gabbing all the time.
Oh, that would be adorable.
That would be.
I'm picturing a lot of green. I'm picturing a lot of green on the cover, and you said it was one of your colors, the green and the blues.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, we did talk about that. Always wear green and blue nail polish. It's always a thing for me.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That. So within this book, there were a few, Kat and Gerard, which seemed to be the main focus of the characters, but there were a couple of side characters or that were very rich as well. And I know I'm going to butcher this name, Manon.
Manon, you got it. You got it,
right.
Manon.
And I really enjoyed her.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give anything else away. No
Yes.
spoilers. We'll save those for Kristy.
No spoilers, but I love that you brought up Manon because in the different events that I've been doing, visiting with readers at bookshops, I have not brought up Manon because we're really just talking about the spotlight characters. I've talked a lot about Kat, about who she is, how she's a character that I wanted to explore. She's a lot like me in many ways, and then she's very unlike me at the same time. So I kind of wanted to build that tension together in one character. Talked a lot about Julia Child because it's Julia Child, but there are other characters. There's some side characters like Manon. Like I love that she had this quiet strength about her. She's a chef during the World War II storyline, and she is in a chateau kitchen that is actually occupied by the Nazis, and so she is forced to use her culinary gift to serve them, to do banquets, to do different parties and things, but all the while she's working with the resistance. And so that's where she meets our main character, Kat, and has to teach her to cook very quickly. And so part of the book is that culinary cuisine from a master chef teaching someone who has really only opened a can of beans before. And that's pretty much what you get.
I really enjoyed her character. I liked her a lot. I thought she, like you said, very strong. I felt very Downton Abbey. Like, I don't know, there was something about her.
Upstairs, downstairs a little bit has that.
But for her to be so in charge of that kitchen and so, and being a female that was in charge, which I know was very much not the German way. So I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed her.
And when you think about exactly what you said, it was not the German way during World War II. They did not want, women were not allowed to work, but with so many men gone, you may not have a lot of men left who have those culinary skills. And so she is brought in as the chef at the chateau. I will say, anyone here fans of the Great British Bake Off? Because I love that. I love it.
I know the show, but I've not watched it.
Yeah, I've never watched it either.
I love
We're
it.
like the two only.
Okay, that's okay.
People.
Viewers, like you have, I'm sure you've watched it.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. So there is one of the judges, Paul Hollywood, and he will give a handshake if you have cooked something that's really well. And I have a magnet on my refrigerator that I actually got from a bookshop, and it is Paul Hollywood, like his hand is getting ready, and I'm like, oh, I just cooked something great in my kitchen. Like, go ahead and have the handshake. But I watched a lot of the Great British Bake Off, also their patisserie week, to help me inform like the different culinary delicacies that were in the book. So
and there were some good ones in there. I'm thinking I would never tackle in a million years, but they sound amazing.
Yeah, like a petivier. Google that, friends, a petivier. There's no way I'm baking that.
No, I'm glad you said it because as I was reading, I'm like, I have no idea how to pronounce that. None.
Some of the French, I love the French in the book. And for me, the culinary aspect, and I've had some people ask me about this book, who is your favorite character? And of course, you talk about Julia Child or you talk about the main character, Kat. But I really think, leaning on this, that my favorite character has no lines, and it's the cuisine. It's the French cuisine that is in the book.
Yes.
Yeah, just really, and I've done that before. As I mentioned, the Castle series. The Castle was my favorite character in that series. Yeah. No lines, but it was a witness for all of the stories for generations. And I feel like, in a way, cuisine can do something rare, like music, like holidays, like gatherings. Food brings people together from all different backgrounds, from all walks of life, and that's one of the special things about it. And I think that Julia Child was able to tap into that, especially with those in America. Teaching a generation how to cook. It's really, really cool thing that you can bring people together with just food.
And I think even going back to your own background, cooking is art.
Yes,
and so it just naturally
I said just
flows.
food. I shouldn't have said just food. It is pretty special.
Very much so.
And there's a beautiful scene with Kat and Gerard with the dessert.
Yes.
And it is it speaks well to what a dessert can do, what food can do. Like you said, that bringing it together. And that was a great scene.
I love that you brought up that scene. That was actually one of my editor's favorite scenes in the whole book. And she commented on that. So there is no spoilers here, but there is a scene where Kat brings a dessert. And it's actually a dessert that in the cooking class, Julia Child and the class actually cooked. It was one of the things that, can I say what it is? Can I say that? Banana tart. It was a banana tart. Yeah. In Julia Child's memoir, My Life in France, there was a window, there was a distinct window from January to August of 1952 that fit perfectly for the story. So that's when the 1952 storyline takes place, when they're just getting the cooking classes off the ground. And so for me, all of that factual information was perfect to just drop Kat right into that storyline. A newly married expat wife who has some secrets from her past and is trying to untangle those, and then finds out not only has she worked in the OSS, which was the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA, not only has she worked for them, but Julia Child did as well. And that's factual as well.
So speaking of factual versus not, when you are writing, when you're crafting a historical fiction story, how do you decide, I'm going to keep that? No, I think I might fudge that a little bit. I might, how do you pick?
Yeah, it's difficult because the research is probably my favorite thing. I love the history. I love infusing the five senses, into all the stories. But the history and the research and finding those pockets of history is one of the things that I love. So in a book, if I say that it was raining on a street in Piccadilly in London, 1943, and the character is standing outside of this shop, like literally that shop was there. I found a photograph. I found a weather report.
I love that.
So in the Paris Dressmaker, there's an opening scene that is in the woods. There's a character who is running. She is a spy. She's running for her life, and you can see we talk about the moon being up in the sky. I actually had to research the moon phases for that part of the world in that year, at that time of the year, at that time of night, to know what the moon would look like. So that level of research is really fun for me. And readers, very smart. Like readers are smart.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna pick up. They'll be able to pick out the areas if you haven't matched it up with your due diligence with research. And the interesting thing too, as an author, all of the historical research, that's on me. My editor is going to look at plot, the character arc, story structure. She's going to look at all those things. But to make sure that the historical research is airtight, that's on me as the author. So I talk to a lot of experts. I always reach out. I try to do on-site research if I can. We couldn't do that during COVID, but I always say, and I joke about this, like if it is safe-ish and legal, put me to work. Put me to work. So I have toured a haunted TV sanitarium before.
Wow.
That was something.
So cool.
That was something. I have explored a morgue and walked through a pitch black body shoot. I have a best friend from high school. She goes on all these adventures.
Is this in Kentucky?
Yes.
Waverly Hills?
Waverly Hills.
Yes.
Yes, we were the last people in line in the pitch black body shoot. It was quite a thing. Yeah. And we actually went to a working honey farm. And so we had the nets on, bees landing all over us, but we raised the frames with our bare hands. Like we felt like a Julia, or we felt like a cat. We felt braver than we were in those moments. So anytime we can do research, I had actually planned when I was writing the Paris Dressmaker to go and take a pastry class or like a patisserie class. And I had actually booked that, and then we had to cancel it because of COVID. But yeah, anytime I have the opportunity to learn and really deep dive and do the research, I'll do it.
That's amazing. I wish you had done it because I'd really love somebody to teach me how to make a macaron. Well,
I can teach you how to eat one.
Oh, that I got down.
We could just put them in.
It's just one of those pastries. I'm like, I'm not even ever going to touch that.
Yeah, I don't know if I will either. But for the next book that I'm writing now, I just had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to go to a flower farm. So I have a friend who owns a flower farm, and she sells beautiful bouquets at a farmer's market. And the new book that I'm writing is going to incorporate a flower farm and a florist shop storyline. And so I actually got to go do some research. It was great. It was hot. We were melting under the sun. There were bugs everywhere, but we were like, this is amazing. And I took one of my sons with me, and we just go on research trips.
Yeah, that's so fun. Can we ask where it's set?
Yes, Madison Avenue, New York City, 1960s. Yeah, so it's my first 1960s story. And I'm allowed to say this, because we talked with it. I talked with my publishing team last year when I pitched this. I pitched this quite a while ago, and it was a Mad Men meets Lessons in Chemistry story. So that's the kind of vibe that we're looking at.
That's gonna go over big.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, it's informally based on Mary Wells Lawrence. If you've ever heard of her, she was a trailblazer in advertising, and they say from the show Mad Men that Peggy Olson's character was actually made after her. So she was the first female CEO to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever heard of Plop, Plop, Fizz, Fizz?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that was her.
Alka-Seltzer.
That was her. Yeah, that was her. I Heart New York. I Heart New York. That was her.
Okay.
She won a coveted Clio Award for that in 1972. And so I want to have a character that's very much like her, who is a female CEO of an ad agency that typically caters to products for men. And how is a female CEO and a female team, creative team, going to come in and master this?
Wow.
Exciting.
That's what I'm writing right now.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
And it's a split time, too. So the granddaughter of the 1960s character, the CEO, the granddaughter has her own story, and it incorporates actually a lot of myself, my family. I've never done this before, but we are actually going up to Michigan. I grew up, for those of you from Michigan, I grew up right here in Port Huron. Port Huron. So we're actually going up there to do some research, going to a flower farm up there, and I want to, just incorporate a little bit of that. So it'll be split time, but I'm having so much fun writing it.
That's exciting.
I can visually see all of the costuming.
Yes.
And
Yes, it's already vivid.
I mean, I'm
yes.
swooning, seriously.
Yeah.
It's like Mad Men 2.0.
Yes. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Can you give us a
Date.
general time frame?
Rough
of that?
date?
It should be fall 2026.
Okay.
We haven't landed on an exact date yet, because that's on the author to turn it in. So
Right, yeah.
I'm just going to go like this. So I see you, my editor. She's like, yep, you got to turn it in. But should be next fall.
Oh, exciting. I'm looking forward to that. So of the books that you've written so far, do you have a favorite or a favorite character?
I love this question, but then I hate to answer it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a good question.
Right.
I think The Butterfly and the Violin, my debut novel, was special because that was the only book that my dad knew about before he passed away. And so he got to see the cover. He got to read that book. It's the only one that he got to read. So that one is pretty special to our family. That started this whole journey because I worked 15 years in corporate America and just had this dream to be an author. And I went in one day after talking with my husband, and I'll tell this little story very quickly, just because I had it on my heart so long to be an author. And I finally came home from work one day, and my husband, we sent the kids to their room, and I ugly cried all over his shoulder and was like, I just can't not do this anymore. I can't not respond to what's on my heart. And he was very patient, and he listened, and he said, okay. He said, trust God, and I believe in you, and you can quit. And so I went in the next day, and I gave my 2-week notice, and we've been doing it ever since. That was 12 years ago.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so love The Butterfly and the Violin. I also love The Paris Dressmaker because that was the book that I wrote during COVID. And so when so much was happening in the world, I think for a lot of us, especially for readers, reading and stories can be a safe space for us.
Yeah,
it can be an escape.
Yes.
I mean, it can educate, it can inform, it can challenge us in some of the ways that we think, but it can also be just a beautiful escape when you need one. And I kind of fell into writing during that time, so it was a good escape. So I have a good feeling about that book. And then, of course, there's the answer that you always give. My favorite book is the one that just released. I mean, come on, The French Kitchen. This is absolutely the best book I've ever written, and you want to purchase it now. So yeah, I really did enjoy writing that book. It was very fun.
When our readers get to read The French Kitchen, if they have not already, what do you hope they take away from it? What is like the feeling, the thought that you want them to leave with?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. I think the biggest thing that I want them to walk away from is thinking about the own story of their lives, the people who are stepping in and out, the seasons of their lives, that each chapter, what that looks like. And I wanted to show that with Kat, Julia Child stepping into her life for a season. And maybe after, I won't give you any spoilers, but after the end of the book, maybe they stayed friends the rest of their lives. And so I really want the readers to find that, the stories that we're writing collectively together. And I really hope you don't read it while you're hungry, because you will be hungry. Just make sure you have a snack or something. It was very difficult to write it and not want to eat the whole time.
I can imagine.
The whole time.
Chocolate and croissants. I
Yes.
was thinking I need to be in a cafe somewhere.
Right.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
needed a beret and I needed
Yeah.
a little cup of coffee.
There you go. And macarons, anytime I write a book, and I have other books, set in
Yes.
Paris, and anytime I write a book that is set in France, I just convince myself that I need research food, and so I buy macarons, and it's just putting just shoveling them in while you're writing. The book. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're so little, you don't realize how many you've eaten.
Yeah, and they fit right in. You just pop one in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And you just keep moving on.
We were in Michigan last week for a vacation in Holland and Saugatuck, and we got macarons at a little store, and one of them was a lavender, and it was so good.
Yes.
I love the lavender.
Yes, I think my favorite. Oh, and if I can talk about the cover just a little bit.
Beautiful.
People ask me about the covers, and my team at HarperCollins is really amazing. Knowing that
your covers are great.
They've just been fantastic, and knowing that I went to art school, knowing that the art is really important to me, they have always allowed me to collaborate on the covers.
Oh, nice.
So we work together. So with this one, see if you think that they got it. With this one, I asked them for something that would show the flavors of Paris, and that was pistachio and vanilla. Did they nail it? Did they get it? Pistachio and vanilla.
Yes.
Yeah, and on this one, because they allow me to collaborate and they are so wonderful, I will say, I hope that as authors we can say when we're wrong. I was pushing for a different direction. I was pushing kind of hard, and I was wrong about that. They were right. They came back with this one, and this is the right cover, and this is the cover that was correct to show the story. It was the best one.
Mm-hmm.
I like the cover.
Yeah, I think it's
they
very
nailed
nice.
it. They really did.
Well, speaking of covers, we we really enjoyed this one, the British Booksellers.
Oh yes, the British booksellers.
We really liked the guy on the cover.
It looks like Peter Fasinelli. Is that how you say that? That's who I think it is.
I think so, but I had a friend who actually said, both she and her husband said, it looks like Spencer and Alex from the Yellowstone universe show 1923. And now that she said that, I was like, I can't unsee it. It
Oh,
looks
I
like Spencer and
agree.
Alex to me.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Now that you've said that, I
Yes.
can totally see that.
Yes, and
So-
that one, so fun to write. That one's a World War II. It's Downton Abbey meets You've Got Mail. And so you have the former loves, and they have bookshops across the street, and they're kind of warring with each other. And then all of a sudden, what do they do when a real war comes? And so it's about the Forgotten Blitz during World War II and the Coventry Blitz in England.
Our book club did this when it came
Oh,
out.
wonderful.
And it was really well enjoyed. I mean, everybody liked it.
Yeah.
And so it was good.
Yeah.
Oh, we enjoyed that one. And
Absolutely.
then the Italian Ballerina, I'm not
Yes.
going to lie, I'm in the middle of this one, so please no spoilers.
No spoilers. I know. I won't do that to you.
But I really enjoy it, and the covers are beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that was the Paris Dressmaker, and these are the only ones I have with me right now, but the covers are gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they do such a nice job.
your art
Yeah.
comes forth on this
Yeah,
cover.
I
so-
love that. Yeah, it's definitely. They just nail it every time. And with the Italian Ballerina, since we are in Indiana, and I'm an Indiana author, and this is an Indiana shop, this is the first time I've actually put something of my home in the book. And so there's a winery that is in here in Indiana.
Okay.
It's in Starlight, Indiana. So if
Oh,
anyone's
yeah.
been to Huber's
I
or
went
to
to
the winery,
Huber's. I told my
unofficially.
husband- I told my husband, I was like, I think this is after Huber.
It is. Yes, it is. So if anyone is watching and you are from the Starlight area, yes, we have gone to Huber's for 25, 30 years. I'm dating myself, but we've gone there.
It's
In
great.
fact, over the summer, my son and I just did a 5K out of Huber's. And so I
Oh.
wanted to incorporate something of my hometown, my backyard, if you will, in the
Yes.
book. So yeah, it's pretty special.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah, I have the cutest picture of my son catching a fish in
Yes.
the farm pond.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I took my kids to Huber's when
Yeah.
they were little.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rite of passage.
It
in
is,
Indiana.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
really
it
is.
I wondered. I forgot about that being when I read that. I was like, Starlight.
Yeah.
We so appreciate you doing this interview with us. We are very much not professionals. You can see the fly flying.
That's okay.
So, Kristy Cambron, her new book, The French Kitchen, is out and available. And we would love for you guys to comment and let us know if you've read any of her other books, if you are purchasing the book from the link below.
Yeah.
And this has been a joy, and we really appreciate it. So, Best in Show Books, I'm Gina.
And I'm Shelby.
And this is Kristy.
Thank you. Bon appetit.
Oh.